Hey guys, it's Machine Dana. How are you doing? Welcome to another Factorio video. In this video, I'm going to be going into more detail about the mods that I have started using and all things surrounding mods. I will literally tell you my favorite mods, ones that I'm not so keen on, a little bit about mods in Factorio and in games in general, how you manage them, what the impacts of using mods can be. But mainly the video is going to be about the mods that I do use in Factorio. They can significantly enhance the game, and hopefully you find this content useful as a consequence of me giving you a bit more information about it. Yeah, if you're new around here, I'd really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, or at very least if you could thumbs up the video. If you watch for a little while, it does help me. Genuinely, it helps me. I'm a new YouTuber, so I'd appreciate that a lot. I do quite a lot of Factorio content, Civilization content, Fortnite content, and various other games. Factorio. I played Factorio for probably 700 or 800 hours without using mods, and honestly, the vanilla game is fine. The vanilla game is a brilliant game. It is one of the most polished games out there. It really is. I think at the moment they are the second highest ranked game by reviews on Steam, behind might be League of Legends or something like that, or Portal 2. So mods, what mods do is they obviously significantly, or to a minor extent, they can change the game to improve the game, and mods generally are a good thing. They can be quite a bad thing though as well. The developers have to keep on top of the updates, and that's a part of the deal really with mods when they're developing them. The vanilla version of the game you can get a hell of a lot of play out of, and honestly I wouldn't even consider looking at mods until you've really played the vanilla game to its fullest, and then I think it's worth looking at mods. If you're starting to get a little bit bored with the base game, the vanilla game, or you want to just spice things up a bit, mods are a brilliant way to do that. In some games, mods are going to really ruin the experience because they're not developed well. They can cause bugs. They can really mess up any hard work. With mods, you're able to extend the life of the game, and Factorio's got honestly one of the best modding communities out there. They really do. The mods in Factorio's, they're very well polished, they're very well done. They add a lot of extra content to the game, a lot of convenient content to the game, and some quite fun content to the game. It can make the game a lot more simple for you, but they can also make the game a lot more complicated for you. And if you find that the vanilla's too complicated, it can simplify things for you. If you find that the game's not complicated enough, it can add more complexity. A lot of the viewers that play Factorio like the complexity. Mods, where do you find them? In Factorio, it's literally on the main menu, second from bottom, mods. You click mods, you can manage the mods you've got, so turn them on and off. You can install new mods by searching for mods and so on. These are the mods at the moment. And you can also update the mods that you already have installed. You need to keep them up to date. Otherwise it can break your base, so you have to think carefully about whether or not you want to install mods. But the better and bigger modders out there, Bob's Mods and Angels, are the two main ones, but there's a number of others really good developers out there. The problem is when they do update a mod, it can change things quite significantly in the base. It might be like the ingredients to a particular product is completely changed, or changed to a smaller extent, which means that some of your factories are going to get a bit messed up. That does happen from time to time. Now you can get around that by not playing the most recent version of Factorio, and then therefore not updating the mod to the most recent version. Now if you're like me, I like to play the most up-to-date version of a game because it tends to be the most polished version of the game, and therefore I play the most up-to-date version. They are only minor issues. They take a minute to update, and most of the time they don't break parts of your factory, but sometimes they do. So it's just something that you should be aware of about mods. The development team at Factorio are really, really good. Then I would recommend the 018X. Now, what I'll just say about this is, so far I've not experienced many issues playing 018X. I've just not. I don't think they put versions out unless they are pretty damn stable. Even though it's a beta, I don't think they tend to put versions out unless they are stable, good, solid versions. This is a list of the mods that I do have currently installed, and I will link them as well at the bottom in the description. You tend to try out the most stable and popular mods first, and then maybe a lot of people then try some different things and do things. That's totally okay to do it however which way you want to. I've gone with these mods because they were recommended to me by a friend. He recommended these mods when we did initially a multiplayer playthrough. There's quite a lot of mods there, so I'm not going to tell you all about all of the mods that I've got installed, but my favourite mods I will go into detail about. And I'm also going to show some of the benefits of the mods as well, and some of the drawbacks actually, so I've learned some lessons. I will separately do a base tour. I've been playing this current map for about, I think, 150 hours or something like that. I did recently a video where you can get a QR code within Factorio, and it actually works as well, so I made this QR code out of brick. I'm going to go into just a couple of my favourite mods here. This is my parking area, by the way. D for disabled parking. Or I might change that to T for a tank at some point, and then these are my different cars. This is my Machine Dana YouTube and my logo for doing various videos. Bob's Adjustable Inserters mod. This one's a really popular one. Most of the ones that I'm doing are really popular. And I'll go into at the back end of the video some less popular mods. But what this does for every inserter within the game, you're able to define where it picks up and where it drops off. And you're also able to offset. When I hover above that, I can see the flat is where it will take from, and the arrow is where it will place the item. Say I've got some product coming up here on the inserter. The adjustable inserter allows you to define where it's picked up and where it's dropped off, and it also offsets where on the belt it is placed to. That's quite useful if you want double-sided belts. But I could have it so that this is picking up there and dropping off there, which means it will pick up from this position and it will drop onto this position. Means I can use these belts for something else. Honestly, I really don't know why they don't include that particular mod in the base game, because it's such a convenient thing. You're able to make factories that are way more compact and way more efficient. That's just a vanilla version of it, but here I'm taking from here and doing a right angle drop on the product. So you're able to make significantly more compacted factories. Adjustable inserters is probably the #1 mod for me. Bob's Assembling Machines. What it does is increase the different number of assembly machines that you can actually have in the game, including electronics machines as well, assembly machines. These electronic machines are sort of 2x2, show you 2x2. Rather than 3x3 in size, but they can only manage electronics, so like circuits and electric components. I'll go into some of this other stuff later. I think included with that you get different furnace types and things like that as well, and even different pump jacks. What it does is it just means that you can upgrade the assembly machines, the speed of them. So for example, the crafting speed on this assembly machine 5 is 2.75, whereas this one is 0.75. The Bob's Logistics mod adds new layers of, so you get, I think in vanilla you get yellow, red and green belts. In Bob's Logistics mod I think there's 6 in total. I've unlocked 5 here. I think there's 1 or 2 more maybe. And you're able to get faster belts, more logistics options, faster express splitters, and undergrounds as well. Bob's Metals, Chemicals and Intermediaries. I highly recommend this one. With the metals, if you look here on intermediate products, there's new options on the intermediate products, and Bob's intermediate products tab becomes available, and you get here quite a lot of extra new products. For example, cobalt steel gears, brass gears, steel gears, which you don't get in vanilla, tungsten gears. And this seems like quite tedious, but it is genuinely quite interesting to unlock new materials, which unlock new technologies, which unlock new efficiencies and stuff like that for the factory, and then also electronic components as well. It makes the game a lot more complicated. It does make the game a lot more interesting. And it makes the game a bit more difficult to do and a lot more time consuming, but a lot more rewarding at the end of it. You get a lot more ore types and liquid types as well. So normally you just get 6 or 7 different ores, in the base game. Here you get things like galena, lead ore, silicon ore, tungsten ore. You get sulfur that you can actually mine from the map rather than having to make it. Aluminium ore, bauxine, titanium ore, gold ore. I think there's silver ore on there somewhere as well, zinc ore. There's a lot more different ores that you can work with. That seems a lot more complicated, but it's a lot more reflective of sort of real life as well, I think. Real life isn't limited to just like iron ore and copper ore and coal. So it does make it a lot more interesting. It does also present a lot more new challenges within Factorio as well, because you're left with a situation where you've got to then plan for extra space and new recipes and bigger factories and things like that. So in conjunction with some of the other mods I've mentioned that already increase some of the complexity, this sort of balances out some of that complexity to give a reason for the complexity, if that makes sense. So yeah, you've got things that extend the efficiency and you get better versions of things. Well, why would you want better versions of things? Well, as you go through the map, you're unlocking new ores, you're mining new ores, new liquids, and so on and so forth. I'll just quickly touch on chemicals, actually, because that's quite a big one. This one here, Bob's Fluids, these are the chemicals. I think in the base game you get only a very limited number of fluids. In this mod you're going to get things like pure water, hydrogen chloride, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, a lot more different options for your chemicals. And honestly, I'm not even 100% through this playthrough. I'm probably halfway through this playthrough. So there's probably another 10 or 15 that I can unlock here. Again, it just allows for a lot more products to be made within the game, and it lends itself to sort of working well with some of the other mods that are out there, for Bob's Mods in particular. It does present a lot more challenges with the fluids as well, because you then have to balance fluids. So what you'll sometimes get is there might be an output of a fluid that you want to have, but that same process may give another output of a different fluid that you don't really know what to do with that fluid. So you have to vent it into the air, or try and use that fluid somewhere else, or store it somewhere, or different ways of managing new problems, basically. Bob's Ores mod I've touched on already. The ores do make a big difference. Bob's Warfare mod. Now this is a really nice one. Me and my friend had a playthrough one of the first times we were using some of the mods, and we went with Bob's Enemies mod, which I'll show you what Bob's Enemies mod is. I would recommend doing it, particularly if you've got Bob's Warfare mod on. What you then get is new levels of enemies. So these smaller big biters, in vanilla I think that's one of the biggest that you get, or I think the green ones. Well, here you've got new levels, so you get giant biters, you get behemoth biters and spitters. And the same applies with the worms. You get much bigger worms as well. So I think up here there's some big guys. Yeah, look at the size of this worm here. So this is a behemoth worm, the same size as the actual spawners, which is pretty awesome. What that does is it gives you sort of a reason to continue along the technology track within the game. So if you've added mods that increase the efficiency, you've added mods that increase the products, you're giving yourself new things to make, well, this gives you a reason to actually make those things, because actually you don't want your base to be imploded by enemies because you've not kept up with the technology, or maybe you've discovered technology but you've not implemented that technology within the game. We played a playthrough of this where it was like Bob's Enemies, so we had much harder enemies that unlocked as we played, but we didn't have the Warfare mod plugged in, and that meant that we had no way to actually counter how difficult they were getting. So we didn't have the extra weapons and things like that. Extra weapons, well, what do I mean by that? Well, look at this on the combat menu. A lot more options on the combat menu. But first of all, you can't really see it here, but well, you can see a few extra armors that you can get. A lot more robots and stuff, different vehicle options. Things like poison ammo rounds, electric ammo rounds. And then it gets even cooler from there. The guns get upgraded. Gun turret, turret Mark II, Mark III. Laser turrets, and then laser turret Mark III, Mark IV, and so on. So the laser turrets themselves get increased rather than just the damage and the speed of them. It's pretty cool. Plasma turrets, they're pretty cool. Plasma turrets are like 3x3. I've actually got the plasma turrets in my base here. I hope we can see them in action. We'll need an exclamation mark before we can see them in action. But these are the plasma turrets. They're 3x3 rather than 2x2. And they have a minimum distance. So it can't shoot in that distance there. It has to shoot starting there, and it shoots to about there. So you've got a much wider distance, but it's not good for short range. But they're very powerful, but they take up a lot of electricity. So you're going to have to look at power for that. The combat and warfare mod is really good. You get new versions of the radar on that as well. Increases to the artillery turrets. It makes the game a lot better if you've already got the enemies mod installed. And that's probably it for the mods that are my favourite mods. Please also have a browse of the other mods in the description below. Those together balance each other out quite well, so that's quite important that you've got some balancing going on in your mods, ideally. But what you may find is that you play for 10 or 20 hours using a mod and realise, this isn't working, and then you might have to look for a new mod or perhaps look online for how to counter certain things that have happened within the game. That's pretty normal to happen, but it's best to do that without having invested 10, 20, 30 hours into a map if possible. Finally, I just wanted to go through a little bit of information about where to find the mods and yeah, some interesting mods that are out there. So first of all, you can browse to mods.factorio.com. You can look at the most downloaded on this tab here, which is pretty cool. Gives you the most popular ones. The most popular ones are, as I say, they're kind of 1 million, which is, it's a lot of downloads, really. Angels Mods is one that I've mentioned a little bit. Archangel 66. But there's also the Bob's Mods ones as well, which is the Bobingabout. Yeah, that he's the kind of developer / creator of those. I wanted to do an honourable mention to the Factory Planner mod. A lot of people use this one. I've not personally used it because I like to sort of wing it, for want of a better word, a little bit. But yeah, this factory planner just helps you know exactly what your inputs and outputs are going to be, so you can make like the perfect factory. A lot of people use this. Other random ones that I've seen that are quite interesting. The cargo ships one here is pretty cool. I've not used it, but it looks kind of cool. Loading up. Looks like it's loading there. Empty full. Buffer chests. Oil rig. Quite interesting. Start with 120 uranium-235s. For anyone that's got to nuclear in your playthroughs, getting to your first 40 or 50 uranium-235 so that you can actually start the Covarex process is not easy. It can take a lot of time. It can take literally can take hours and hours just to get your first 40 or 50. So this mod here gives you 120. I wouldn't use this one personally. I think I would set up the uranium ore processing earlier so that it would get me the uranium-235 sooner, and just ignore it and leave it running in the background rather than use this. But some people would quite like to have it from the start. God mode. This is a module that gives you basically, so it allows you to add modules and increase efficiency, but without any of the negative effects. Again, not something I would use, but some of you might be interested in that particular one. Nice try train. Somebody's gone out of their way to make a mod that makes you invincible to trains. Bravo, sir. Bravo. Infinite buffer chest does exactly what it says on the tin, I think. Yep. Place off grid. This allows every item to be placed off grid rather than it being in its kind of sprite position, if that makes sense. But I'm not really sure how I feel about kind of that. Makes me feel a little bit ill, to be honest. So I think I wouldn't personally go for that one there, but it just gives you the breadth and an idea of the breadth of mods that are out there. And then endless resources. If you're into cheating, then you can install a mod like that as well. But there's so many mods out there, honestly. Funny ones, bad ones, good ones, convenient ones. Yeah, give it a go. Have a little bit of a browse. Okay, so that's it for this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video and some tips and tricks and some kind of mod ideas. If you've not tried mods already and you're starting to get a little bit bored with the vanilla version of the game, I would highly recommend it. And please comment in the comment section below and let me know what mods you're using, which mods you highly recommend. I would be very interested to know of any cool ones that are worth installing, particularly ones that complement the versions that I've already got. And once again, please feel free to subscribe on the channel and like the video if you found this useful. Thank you.